You're a mum, you're a mum, you're a busy mum. Come listen to the Busy Mum podcast. Life hacks and inspiration for the busy modern mum.
Hi and welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. I am your host, Jackie DeCampo. This podcast's sole focus is to interview busy mums and sometimes dads that usually have a business or at the very least a bustling side hustle. We cover areas like why they got into business in the first place, what their greatest lessons are or fear is, and how to overcome that. We talk all things marketing, advertising, systems, processes, cash flow, which is my favorite part, whether they have a product-based business or a service-based business, and all things related to business. And also, we talk about how they manage it with a family life as well. A little bit about me. I'm 38 years old, married to Ben DeCampo. We have 2 daughters. I am a co-founder of Milkman Grooming Co. I host this podcast and I am a mad keen gardener. If you want to share your story, please reach out, or if you're interested in sponsoring an episode, again, please reach out. My packages are very reasonable. My email is thebusymumpodcast, that's M-U-M, podcast @gmail.com. Now let's dive into this bloody fantastic episode. Good morning, Sydney. Welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your business, what you actually specialize in, how you got started?
So I specialize in leadership development, and I started in that because I became self-employed when I was 24 years old, and I had a diploma in hospitality and hadn't really done too much in that sphere. But my husband had the bright idea to start a business, and a food franchise was the easiest way to go. So he bought this food franchise and he said, okay, you can run it because you've got the expertise. So thanks. But one of the things I realized was, and as I've gone along in my career, is that I didn't understand how to manage people. So they can teach you how to do all the other things and run a business, but managing people is a specialized skill, I believe, but it's a skill that everybody can learn, and we just have to be really open to it. And if I think back to the way that I used to manage people when I was 24 compared to now, I would have hated me as a boss at 24. I just didn't have enough emotional intelligence. I just didn't have any real understanding. And through my career, as I've gone along, I've realized that a lot of people get promoted into roles because they're good at their job. And when they get the promotion, they'll end up having to manage people, but they don't have the skills. And their organizations aren't saying to them, well, here we go, we need to teach you these skills. So they're setting them up for failure, really. Yeah. And what's happened is a lot of these people are really good at their jobs, but they don't spend any time doing their job because they're so busy managing people and failing at it. So they start to feel like they're not successful, and they get burnt out, and then they leave the industry or they leave their job. And with just a few, courses or lessons behind them and some coaching and some support, they could really be amazing at their job and managing their people. Yeah. So that was what I always thought was a massive gap in the market. And that seems to be what I've been doing for the last few years, at least about 8 years now. That's what I've been doing, and I absolutely love it. And I love watching people get the aha moments where they go, oh my goodness, I didn't realize, because everybody thinks it's all about them, but when you become a leader, it's not about you anymore, it's about everybody around you. So
it's almost like when you become a mum as well, it's not about you, it's about the baby.
Not at all.
Now I want to just quickly jump back to the first business. So it sounds like your husband bought you a job. Thank you. How did that come about? Like who buys a food franchise, and what did that look like?
So my husband is an IT professional, and he now has his own business, and basically has always wanted to be self-employed. And he used to try all sorts of little things to, and he was never sure what he wanted to do. I still don't think at 56 he still knows what he wants to do, but he's doing well, so it's fine. He has ADHD, so he's all over the show. And so I think it was easier to buy a franchise because you sort of get the processes, you get everything in place, and you get support. So that was what he thought was going to be a good idea. He didn't think about the fact that I was 6 months pregnant with our first child when we started this business. and that we had to move 1,000 kilometers away from home.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's setting yourself up for failure right there. Like, how well did the food franchise go? Like,
the food franchise went really well.
Oh, great.
We were 7 days a week. I remember coming out of hospital and pretty much going straight to work, baby in tow. And I used to go to work every single day with baby. Obviously not for the whole day because, I got to go and do just what needed to be done for a couple of hours. And it was when my son started to walk that we realized I couldn't go into the business every single day because he started pulling glasses off shelves and stuff like that.
I know. It's always that one little scare. We've had it as well when we started our business. That one little scare, you're like, oh, that's right. Okay. Something needs to change.
Exactly. So we, but yeah, having a franchise was a really good supportive way to start a business, especially because neither of us had really run such a massive business. It was interesting going into a small town. So I came from Johannesburg, which is one of the biggest cities in South Africa. And we went to a very small little university town. I think you could compare it to Armidale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
So it's pretty much going from Melbourne to Armidale. I
and Armidale in New South Wales, not Armidale in WA, right?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't realise there was one in Western Australia. Still learning.
That's all right.
And I remember my mother saying to us when she was down visiting that my husband and I, we walked too fast for the small town. She said, you've got to stop walking like you're from the city and start getting more, relaxed because you're in a country town. Yeah. As an example, some of the restaurants used to close between 1 and 2 and people used to go home for lunch.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so why would you have a restaurant if you're going to be closed for lunch? But anyway.
Oh, my God. That doesn't make sense. Oh, my goodness.
No, so we kept that business and we eventually put managers in and it was just a matter of us having to check on it as we went along. But the first 2 years was pretty much full on every single day, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm. So did you sell that business afterwards, or do you still have it now?
Oh, no. We sold that business after 7 years. We sold it.
After 7 years. Did you sell it back to the franchisor or did you sell it on to someone else?
No, we ended up selling it to our manager at the time. So we had a great manager and it was an opportunity for him to, have his own business. We were ready to move on. And so we sold it to him that he didn't even have to get a bank loan. We let him pay us off.
Okay. That's handy.
Yeah, so we were basically his bankers. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually quite generous of you because, and also you must see the value in the business because to do a thing like that, like businesses go bust all the time. Like I see it and I get actually quite sad when I walk down the street and the takeaway shops close down. I'm like, oh my God, that's so sad. I just like, what were they doing wrong? The cash flow. So I get a little bit emotional about that, but you must have had a lot of confidence in your skills and the processes and the systems that were in place for him to be able to pay you off rather than get that big loan and then he'll stress out about that financially and stuff like that. So that's really good.
And we carried on mentoring him for quite a while. And I think that's what makes the difference. It's about that giving back as well and, setting somebody else up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. So you sold that business and then what happened after that?
So we actually, while we had that business, my husband decided that the food franchise wasn't for him. And he was afraid if he left the IT industry for too long, he would be, out of the loop completely because it changes so quickly.
Yeah.
So he used to work for a company in Johannesburg that sold data communication, so microwaves, links, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So he started doing that for them in the area that we lived in. And eventually he got involved with somebody else and they had a small IT business. And so he decided to keep his hand in with IT. And at the same time, I had my second child and decided I didn't want to go and stay in the food franchise. And I got bored staying at home. So 5 months after my second child was born, I started an interior design store. Mm-hmm. So I just decided I've always loved interior design and we lived in the small town that didn't have anything. So I had a workshop. So we used to make curtains and blinds and all home furnishings. And I used to sell all the little knickknacks and everything at the same time. So I did that for a year, which was awesome. And I absolutely loved that. And then an opportunity came up for us to buy a small house that we would turn into a boutique hotel. So I kept the design business until I had furnished and set up the hotel, and then I sold the design business.
Okay, so that's business number 2 that you've sold.
Yeah, we hadn't sold the food franchise at that point. We still had the food franchise.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so wow, you've got a lot of experience in business, really, when you dig down a bit further. So you did that. Had a boutique hotel. So did you sell that one, or did you run that for a while?
Yeah, we ran that one for 7 years. So at that point we had the food franchise. My husband had his IT business, which he was expanding to have 2 stores, and I was managing one of his stores for him at the same time. We had the hotel, and I think that was all at that point, because I'd sold the design business by then. Yeah. So, and our hotel was about 10 kilometers outside of town. So we'd get up in the morning, my husband would come into town, he would go check on the food franchise and then go into his IT business. I would see to the guests and make sure that everybody was happy for the day. My husband would drop the children off at school. And then I would come into town after the guests had left for the day, would go and help my husband with his stores to ensure that they were running properly, pick up the children from school, go back home to the hotel to greet the guests and do all of that. So
wow, that's busy.
It was very busy.
Yeah, and then I'm reading on to your answers, and you had an office stationery store as well.
Yeah, so that was part of the IT business. So those were the that I was managing. Yeah.
Beautiful. And now you just focus on training and getting people ready to be leaders. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no. So I do that.
Yes. Talk to me about that a bit more.
Okay, so, that's what I alluded to earlier, in that I just love that development of people. So I had a job for a while where I was working with the local councils throughout Queensland, and I was working for a company. I think I'm better off self-employed. I need that flexibility because I have more than one business. So while I loved that job, I absolutely adored that job. I just felt that I needed to do something for myself. So basically what I've gone and done is doing exactly what I used to be doing. I'm just doing it for myself. So helping companies, I do team development. So I'm a Belbin Team Roles accredited trainer, which Belbin's it's not a personality-based course. It's more behavior. So everybody who works within a certain team takes on a specific role within that team. So your behavior can change depending on what team you're in and depending on what's needed of you from that. So I go in and I help companies define what their roles are and how the team actually works comfortably together. I do leadership training, so that's emerging leaders as well as existing leaders. I do coaching. So I find that coaching piece is where all the learning lands. It's where the big aha moments come. So you can sit in a course, for days on end, or it's when somebody's there holding you accountable to actually make those changes that we see the real change happening. So I love coaching. Just because that's just my favorite.
That's your favorite. Now, can you give me some top tips on people that are going, say they have got this promotion and they're going to be managing a team of people, which they might have dabbled in before, but maybe not full time. What are the top tips that you can provide to them to at least put them on the right foot going forward?
Okay, so there's 2 things that I would do. If I was put in a position where I'm now going to be managing people I haven't managed before, sit them down as a group and I think be really open and honest about what your expectations are. And I tell you right down to the smallest detail. If you like to receive emails in Arial font 12, be that specific. And it might come across as you being very pedantic, but these are the things that you like, and these are the things that help you work better. And if you're working better, it means that you can support your team better.
Yeah.
So, and then you do the same for them. Then you turn around and you say to them, so what is it that I can do to help you be more successful? So what are the things you need from me? And you need to have that conversation totally upfront so that everybody's on the same page. The other thing to me that is the most important question you can ask somebody is, how do you like to receive feedback?
Oh, yes, good question. Never.
So,
Just kidding.
Jackie, feedback is a gift.
That just keeps giving. No.
Well, it should keep on giving.
No,
so
it's true.
You need to develop this culture where it's okay for everybody to actually give each other feedback. So some people are quite happy for you to just in the moment say to them, this is what you've done. I don't like it. I'd prefer it if you did X, Y, Z. Other people would prefer it if you sent them an email detailing it. It gives them time to think about it, ruminate on it, and then you have a meeting the next day or later on in the day and you discuss it in detail. So those are the two main types that I see of the way people like to receive feedback. The other thing is, don't expect people not to get defensive. Our brains are actually hardwired to be defensive.
Just then, right? That protective wall comes up. And I think these are great questions because, like, we have only just recently hired, I think, 4 new people in our business. And Ben and I, we are not programmed to manage people. And those questions are great. And I actually haven't done that with these people. So these are my 2 takeaways from our conversation today, which is very, very good. Thank you very much for that.
Well, the thing is that if we don't, we're programmed to believe that we need to be nice. Our mothers always told us you need to be a nice person. And we start to think that giving somebody corrective feedback or any feedback means that we're not being nice. But if we don't tell people and help them become the best that they can be, are we being nice to them? We're not developing them.
No.
And all we're doing is getting frustrated and standing in the kitchen complaining about them to somebody else instead of actually helping this person. Because a lot of times they might not even know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's hard to look from the outside in when you're stuck on the inside of your own brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so let's move on to the next question I have for you is, do you use any apps in your business that you can't live without?
I've actually just paid for later.com, which is, well, it's for social media posting. Mm-hmm. It means that you can post to your Instagram and your Facebook at the same time.
At a different, but in the future?
Yeah, schedule it. You can schedule it. There's calendars, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, see, I know Facebook, you can schedule posts, but in Instagram, I don't think you can. But Instagram does push out to Facebook.
Yes, it does. But then you've still got to go and make the connection and put it up. So I used to use Planoly, which was a great free app for small business. And that was just for Instagram, though.
Yeah.
So I was then having to do Planoly, and then I'd have to go into Facebook and copy it all. And then I discovered later, and I can do both at the same time. It's awesome.
It's good to get those wins in, so you're not because socials are needed in today's society, I think, when you're in business, but you don't want to spend all your time in social because sometimes that's just not getting your actual work done at the same time. You've also said you can book me. Is that an app? This is a new thing to me.
Yeah, so You Can Book Me is an app I use. So the other part of my business is I do neurofeedback.
Mm-hmm. What is neurofeedback?
Okay, so there's I use something called optimal neurofeedback, and it is a brain training software. Mm-hmm. So not brain training where you have to play a game and you have to move something on the screen. Optimal neurofeedback is about optimizing your brain. So what happens is a client will come in and see me, and they will sit down and they'll watch 33 minutes of TV or listen to music. And every time their brain is about to make a shift, it sends a little signal down to the central nervous system. And the central nervous system says, yep, you can make that shift. Or it goes, nope, you shouldn't be making that shift right now. And if the central nervous system says no, it'll send some feedback through the system that the people are listening to or watching. And it comes in the form of a little blip of the sound. And that gives the brain a message to say, you shouldn't be moving now. Now, you have free will, it's your brain, and you can go, okay, well, I'll listen to that, or no, I'm not going to listen to that. But you can be fast asleep. This all works on a subconscious level. So I've had people come here and they just fall asleep in the chair listening to the music, and they say it's the best 30-minute sleep they ever had. And their brain is doing all this work. The reason for it, so you're probably wondering, why do you use neurofeedback?
Yeah.
My daughter has ADHD, and she was diagnosed when she was 11. She's 22 now. And I did a whole bunch of reading. And one of the things I discovered was a book by a man called Dr. Daniel Amen. And he's an American neuroscientist and psychiatrist. And he discovered that by giving neurofeedback to the brain, you optimize your brain. And because with ADHD, it's your theta brainwave is running at peak. It's running too high. And the theta brainwave is the wave in our brains that is really high when we first wake up in the morning. So when we wake up in the morning and we haven't had our morning coffee and we're a little bit, dozy still, an ADHD child lives in that world all the time. So, but the brain is actually designed to run in balance. So it needs all the brain waves to be balanced at the same time. So what the optimal neurofeedback does is it teaches the brain to run in balance. So our daughter was diagnosed with ADHD. The side effects of the medication were huge for her. She wouldn't eat, she wouldn't sleep. She just hated it. And I'd read about this neurofeedback and couldn't find anybody in Brisbane who did it. And eventually, through just chatting to somebody, I found the name of a psychologist who was using this program. And I thought, it's non-invasive. So all you do is you sit there with some little sensors on your head. All it's doing is reading your brain waves. It doesn't put anything inside your brain. And I was like, it's non-invasive. It's worth a shot. Anyway, within 5 sessions, my daughter was no longer medicated. Okay. And at 22, she's now got a degree. She has a full-time job. She's moved out of home, and she's living life as a normal, neurotypical adult, shall we say. But she doesn't, it doesn't mean that her ADHD has gone away. She still has to have strategies and things in place that she can use to help her. But it's helped her brain work in balance, and, it's made all the difference in her life. So I wanted to offer this to other people. So last year I discovered that I didn't need to be a medical professional to run this training software. And I'd gotten really interested in the neuroscience of leadership over time and, the reasons why we do certain things. So I've become a little bit obsessed with the brain. And so this is just another added dimension for me. In the States, they actually use neurofeedback for CEOs, for them to run businesses at optimum so that their brains are constantly optimized. Olympic athletes use it. It just helps them focus. So it helps with anxiety, depression. At any time when our brain isn't running optimally, things in our life are not maybe going as well as we need. So the brain is a muscle and needs to be trained just like the rest of our bodies.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We tend to take our bodies to gym, but we don't worry about our brains. And with the onset of dementia and Alzheimer's and all that kind of stuff, this is really helpful.
So is it just a 30-minute test on a regular basis, or how?
Yeah, so it's not a test. It's just however many sessions you need. So it's a session. Mm-hmm. So you sit there, you can watch something on TV, you can listen to the music. As long as it's running through my system, it's fine, so that you get the feedback that you need. That's all it is. So the majority of people have about 10 to 20 sessions. Mm-hmm. And obviously the older you are, the more sessions you have to have. Yeah. So my husband has PTSD, and he's had probably about 50 sessions now, and we're only now starting to see real change for him. And that's because as adults, those neural pathways are a lot more set in stone than children.
Yeah, absolutely, because I've been going over and over for many, 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 many years. Okay, well, that was really interesting. So that's because my next question was, what do you specialize in? But then I think when we went into that neurofeedback session, we kind of answered that question as well. So I'm going to skip past that question because we've kind of covered that and go to the next question is, where do you go to get your business information and why?
Business information from what point of view? Just about
so, like running your business and how do you stay up to date with the things that you need to stay up to date with?
So lucky for me, I'm in the leadership space. So there is so much out there. I'm an associate fellow of the Institute of Managers and Leaders. So I attend a lot of their networking events, their webinars, their conferences, that kind of stuff. I'm an avid reader. So I listen to podcasts and I hear about a good book and I, have to order the book immediately and have to devour it immediately. I belong to a lot of groups. I do a lot of networking. I think the most important thing for me is being out there and hearing what are the challenges that people are facing. So I went to a breakfast meeting this week. It was about creating a mentally healthy workforce now and into the future. And there was over 200 people at this breakfast. And I just went, wow, that is obviously a massive need. And just chatting to people and going, well, what is it especially that you're interested in? Or, and so that for me, I came back and went, okay, maybe I need to come up with a course around that kind of subject matter. Yeah. So it's just talking to people and seeing what are they challenged by. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so your network. I mean, that's true. Like I think a few people have actually said their network. They have they've created a Facebook community that they tap into if they've got questions and stuff like that. Okay, so the next question I have is, what one area of your business would you like to improve and why, and how do you propose to do it?
So one of the things that I was really bad at, so I used to have another business here in Australia and I had a business partner and she was really great with the marketing and the website and all that type of stuff. So I was really bad at that. Don't have a lot of interest in it, but realize it's obviously a really important part of your business. So I got myself a business coach this time around when I started a business, which I'd never done before. And that was the best money I ever spent. And it's about having that person to hold you accountable for doing certain things. Because when you're self-employed, you're only accountable to yourself.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I don't know about you, but I can really, make myself a good story about why I didn't do something.
Yeah, I can either dial it up or dial it down. Depends on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was really bad at this whole SEO and website stuff. So I went and I did a course and I've just finished my course and it's changed my website. And I tell you, the traffic to the website has changed so much.
So what course did you do?
So I did it with, it's called Biz Mum School.
Oh, yes.
And it's out of Western Australia and it's an online course and it's 1 hour a week online, but if you can't make it to the live recording, you can watch it later. There's a specialized Facebook page so that you can ask the facilitator any questions that you've got. And it was absolutely amazing. And Biz Mum School was started by Meg Burridge, who runs Bub Desk. So it's about, it's out of West Australia, but they've got other hubs around. So it's about having an office or a co-working space, but out of a childcare centre.
Yes.
So that you can put your child into care and then actually have a place to work as well. So
yeah, we had one of them down the road, Bubs and Boardrooms it was called. And that's when we first started our business and I was still looking after the two girls. So I would come and do the accounting and the bookkeeping and some admin stuff while they got looked after. So I felt like it was a win-win situation because then the kids could go and play for a bit as well and get a break from me and I could get a break from them. So it's a good concept. Needs to be rolled out a bit more, I think.
Oh, absolutely. So Meg has now started the Biz Mum School because she's seen that there's this need for people. So actually I'm running a course for them this coming term on personal leadership. So an 8-week online course because a lot of people think, oh, I'm a solopreneur, it's just me in the business. What do I need to know about leadership? But, one of the things you might have to do is talk to a stakeholder or a freelancer or a supplier or a customer. So there's quite a few people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it takes a lot of people to be successful, really. It's not just, you're not an island. Okay, so I've got a few...
No, absolutely.
Fun, quick questions, and then I'll let you get on with your day. What do you prefer and why?
Sure.
Vampire or werewolf?
Okay. Definitely a werewolf. I've actually been watching on Netflix Santa Clarita Diet.
Oh, yes.
And I know it's just too gruesome. I'm like, I can't. So a werewolf at least looks like a puppy until it opens its mouth and tries to attack you. So, yeah.
Oh, goodness. And then my next question was Netflix or Stan? And you're obviously a Netflix girl.
I am, only because I don't have Stan, and but I have been actually umming and ahhing, but I do believe that if I get another streaming thing, I'm never going to do any work, so it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, cut back, I'm telling you.
Do it right now.
And product-based business or service-based business?
So I've had both. I've actually thought about this, and I actually thought that maybe a product-based business could be better, because a service-based business is normally the service that you're providing, so you have to be hands-on and be doing it. So if you're not doing it, it's not working. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you have a product-based business, you could probably have an online shop or whatever, and not a lot that you would have to do. You'd be able to go on holiday, because you could always get somebody else to pack your products and post them.
You can. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to speak with you this morning.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Busy Mum podcast. Don't forget to let your friends know, and also subscribe to the iTunes channel, and also my socials if you want to see what I'm getting up to. A brand new episode is out every Monday morning, just like clockwork.